Hey, my guy. What's going on?
What's up, party people?
What's going on, dude?
Party people in the house. Hey, what's up, Brian? How you doing, man?
You look like you're in Ibiza. You're in Ibiza?
I am in Ibiza, yes, I am.
How could you tell?
Well, he's not either in his studio at home, and depending on like the weather, he's either in South America or he's in Ibiza.
That is hilarious. MK, Dolla, the last time that I saw you guys, I was the last interview of Miami Music Week, Radio Row, and let's just say that you could tell that you guys were done with it.
Oh, done with Miami?
Yeah. Are you guys in a better place now?
Look, I think the only reason we were done with it was simply, it was just like sleep deprivation, right, Mark?
Yeah.
We were dead. But I'm ready to go. I've slept like a puppy last night.
I'm not, because I'm in Ibiza. I'm right back in the thick of things. So I had like 2 shows in a row. I had my show with Calvin Friday Ishwire. Then I went to see Beyonce in London on Saturday, and then I had Forbidden Forest in UK on Saturday.
MK's like, Dom, speak for yourself. I am dead.
I'll answer all the questions. At least you look good, mate. You look good.
Thank you.
Oh,
I just took a shower. That's probably why.
Well, MK, Dolla, welcome to America's Dance 30. It's great seeing you guys.
Good seeing you too, man.
It has been a very long road for this song, but congratulations on Rhyme Dust going #1.
Yeah.
That is so amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. It was a long road.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the crazy long story behind the song and find out how it was born. But before that, let's get to know MK and Dolla a little better with Finky's firsts.
Okay.
Here we go. Dangerous.
Neither of you sound excited. I love finding out the origin story of artists. Now, MK, I know you started producing at a very young age in Detroit.
Yeah.
But was producing or DJing the first thing you wanted to be when you were growing up?
It was always producing.
Really?
Always producing. I still don't even really want to be a DJ, but...
Like, I wanted to be a lawyer when I was growing up, but then I learned about how much studying you had to do, and then I fell in love with radio, and that took me, unfortunately, down this avenue. Dom, what about you growing up?
I was obsessed with collecting music. I had an enormous music collection, like 13 or 14 years old, and DJing was just a natural evolution from that. I didn't start producing till I was like 21. I'm 31 now, so I've been doing it only about a decade. But I was actually a typographer, graphic designer before I did music full time. So
do you still do that for like all of your stuff now? Is it hard for you to hand it off to somebody else?
It's incredibly hard to hand it off, but I'm lucky. I've got I'm a big fan of looking for designers and working with brilliant designers and illustrators and stuff. So I'm a savage critic, but I'm very proud of all the stuff that we put out there. Even the artwork for Rhyme Dust was an incredible designer, Harley from Los Angeles, a great tattoo guy. But I'm super hands-on with it. I'm the feedback nightmare, but we get it done.
I'm the
It's
same
funny,
way.
It makes sense now, because when we got the artwork for Rhyme Dust, I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, it looks cool. And then Dom got hold of it, and he was like, well, hold on. Did I tell you this? Is this? But now it's all making sense now.
So that's 100%. The real story of why the song took so long to come out. Now, Dom, as you mentioned, the first song that you produced was back in 2013, was it?
I think so. I think, it was a long time ago. I can't remember the name of the first record. I was just like farting around on my laptop, having no idea what I was doing. I still have no idea what I'm doing. I feel like I've got a better idea, but the whole songwriting production game it's an ever evolving, Mark would know, ever evolving art form. You never stop learning. The tools never stop changing. I think that's probably the most interesting part about it is, I remember when I first started producing, I can only imagine how much more difficult it was for Mark back then. But when I first started producing, there were no like sample packs there was like maybe 1 or 2 built for like dance music.
That's a gift from God. A sample pack is a gift from God.
It's like Splice existing now is like a place to go and hunt for samples. I'm like, people have it so easy now.
Yeah, and MK, let's talk about this because you got your first #1 on the dance charts back in the 90s, which is incredible that you've been doing it for so long, so successfully. Do you remember the first song that you ever produced?
Yeah, the first song I ever produced that came out was a song called First Base. The group was called Separate Minds, and it was actually my first techno track. I never even made techno before that. This was like my first thing I made. And then Kevin Saunderson from Detroit, he heard it, he signed it, and then he's ended up signing me as a producer. I was like a 16-year-old producer that he signed. And then from that point, I just started doing dance music.
And thinking back to then, I mean, I started in radio, I don't even want to mention when, but it was the 90s as well. So I was dealing with reel to reel. I couldn't even imagine producing a song back then.
Yeah, it was very, you had to really know what you were doing. Like now, not to take away from any producers, but with laptops and software and plugins, it's so easy compared to what it was back then. You had to know the equipment and how to plug it in before you even knew how to produce. So you know, it's like you literally have to understand what MIDI was, what sequencing was, how to sync up two drum machines without MIDI, how to edit on reel to reel using the razor blade, how to fly in vocals. If you want to use a chorus twice, you have to take two tape machines and line them up, and it's a lot you have to know before you even like can make a hit record.
Yeah, I just had bad flashbacks to splicing with the razor blades and putting the tape over it, and you would hear it when it went over that. So, oh, God. Dom, you have no idea what we dealt with.
Moving humble pie over here, boys. This is wild. I feel like I'm sitting with my two uncles at a Christmas family barbecue.
Yeah.
As long as you didn't say your two grandparents.
No.
Now, you guys have been doing shows all over the world and festivals as well. Dom, you just sold out 2 upcoming shows in Melbourne, which is amazing. 20,000+ tickets. But do you remember the first show you ever did?
I don't know if you'd call it a show, but I think I played at a venue called Seven Nightclub when I was just like fresh-faced 18-year-old. Like I had probably 20 of my friends there. I just turned 18. My friends of mine were so drunk they were nearly pulling the decks over, hanging on to it. It was it was a wild time. But yeah, I grew up DJing around Melbourne, playing plenty of sets at venues like Tramp and Revolver, and Sydney Mire Music Bowl was kind of like my dream venue. So to sell out 2 of them and to it's just mental. I found out we broke the record. It was the fastest the venue had ever sold, which is just, I can't even wrap my head around it.
It's sold out in minutes, right?
Yeah, stoked, man. I got honestly speechless. Still can't wrap my head around it, really. But
congratulations on that. That is so amazing. MK, do you remember the first show you ever did?
Yeah, well, in the 90s, let me back up a little bit. I used to DJ in my studio, in Kevin's studio, as I was making records, because Kevin was there, Derek May was there, Shay Damier we were all just in the room. We would grab vinyl and DJ, and it could never hold my interest, because I would hear something and okay, guys, I'm going downstairs in the studio. You guys can play records. I'm going to go make records. And so it really wasn't until 2009, 2010, when I started doing my first shows. And it was weird because a lot of people who came to shows already knew who I was from making music for the past, 15 years. So every show kind of sold out right away for my first show. So it was a different experience from just starting out to an empty club. I started out in a full club and kind of had to start to learn how to DJ in a club for my first show.
And that's kind of the way it's gone now for producers, where producers have to learn how to DJ so that they can do shows and really make money to survive, right?
I think it's vice versa. I think it's the DJs, the kids who DJ now need to learn how to produce. That's how they sell out shows.
Mm.
There's a few ones who are just really good DJs who can carry the weight, but for the most part, a new DJ really has to add producing to their resume.
Now, MK, if I sat here and named all of the artists that you have worked with, we would be here until 2024. But do you remember the first artist you actually worked with?
I don't remember the first one.
What's one that stands out to you?
Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg stands out.
How do you spell it? It's Snoop.
SNOOP.
Never heard of him. That's
Never
sick.
heard of him either.
And the reason I remember is because it was right during the East Coast West Coast beef, and the A&R called me from the label when I found out that I booked the session, and they said, "What's your chest size?" And I'm like, "Why do you need my chest size?" And they said, "Because you need to wear a bulletproof vest." I'm like, "Why?"
Wow.
Yeah. So and then I went to the studio with Snoop, and he had the Nation of Islam security with him. He had like 20 security guards with him, and then once he got in front of the studio, they dropped him off, and so it was just me and Snoop by ourselves in the studio. And the first thing he says, "Do you want to smoke?" I don't smoke,
Of course.
but I said, "Yeah, let's go." And then I did that session high, and yeah, probably should have smoked, but yeah.
How did the song turn out?
The song turned out right. It was a song we did for SWV. Snoop was a rapper on it, so it turned out fine.
But being high during the session, did you go back and listen to it and be like, "Whoa, what the heck?"
Well, luckily I already made the track.
Oh,
so
okay.
So Snoop was the one that had to rap, so I was just kind of sitting there like, "Hey, MK, how's it sound?" I'm like,
Love that.
That is hilarious. Now, Dom, of course, you just dropped the brand new smash with the amazing Nelly Furtado. But do you remember the first artist that you worked with?
I think it was a friend of mine. I challenged myself to start writing, or to start songwriting and writing my own top lines. And I think it was a friend of mine, Blushko, BLUSHKO, who's an incredible R&B vocalist from Melbourne. And I'd written this top line, and I sounded like a dying cat vocal on it. It was like shrieking, terrible. My voice is terrible. Got a great ear for melody, but I can't execute with my own voice. So
is that on YouTube?
What, me singing it?
Yeah.
If I get high enough in the studio with you and Snoop Dogg, maybe, but not.
All right.
I just want to say, as a proud cat dad, that really hits home saying a dying cat.
Yeah,
I'd appreciate for our next interview not to bring that up again, Dom.
All right, cool. I sounded like it was a cat. It was a cat of some sort. But I brought him in, and it was more me learning about directing session vocalists, basically, like getting someone to execute your vision. But he and I, he's a brilliant songwriter. We've got in the studio and written songs together since then. But working with Nelly she's incredible. She's a whole other kettle of fish. Her and I become like really, really good friends now, and I've been helping her with a bunch of her upcoming pop songs. And that's actually how my collaboration with her came to be, is that she reached out to me interested in my songwriting and production on her upcoming stuff. And we linked up, got in the studio, working together for a couple of weeks. And she goes, "Look, I actually really love your club records. I'd love to feature on one of those." And I was like,
"What?
Let's do it." She's a legend. She's the most humble, down-to-earth, hardworking pop star I've ever crossed paths with. I was like house sitting for her recently. She's a legend.
That is so incredible. That is amazing. Now, finally, in honor of Rhyme Dust going #1, who was the first person that you guys played it for when it was done?
That's a good question. I don't think anyone. I because the way it happened is I was working on a new project. I wanted to collab with my favorite producers, and Dom was on my top of the list. And so happened that I think Dom had a track that he wanted me to work on with him, which was Rhyme Dust. And we just went back and forth on it right before COVID. Went through a couple of different transitions. And then I don't think we played it for anybody, really. I think Dom played it he played it for TikTok.
TikTok was like, "Yeah, we like it. Release it right now."
Let's talk a little more about this annoyingly catchy smash. I'll be the first one to admit that when Phil from Ultra sent it to me, I didn't get it on first listen because I heard it. I was like, yeah, this is good, but there's not a lot. It's very simple in the whole scheme of it. But then the more I listened to it, the more I was singing in my car, in the shower, to my cats, Rhyme Dust. How long did it take for you guys to get it out of your head?
It's still in my head.
Yeah. My 5-year-old walks on the house singing it.
Rhyme Dust. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Please share with us, beyond just it going to TikTok, the entire long backstory to it.
I'm a huge fan of Q-Tip. I love like the tone of his vocal, and I've always wanted to sample one of his records. And one of my favorite records of his is Breathe and Stop, which I can't remember what year it came out, but more than 2 decades ago. and I came across the acapella, was playing with it, basically chopped it up, stretched the shit out of it until I found the moments that I really, really liked, and just started going through iterations of grooves, bass lines, ways that I could work it into my set. And I think it went through 2 or 3 different versions, and when Mark hit me up, I was like, oh, here's this version. It was actually not the version that ended up coming out eventually. It was a previous one that's on a hard drive somewhere, and it was there, but it wasn't quite there.
I actually really like that version. I'm going to play it somewhere eventually.
Yeah,
it's a really good version. It's a really good version.
You dig it up. I actually, I have to go looking for it. But yeah, it was an interesting road. I think the scary thing, what I've since learned, the power of TikTok and people being able to reuse sounds and repost sounds has kind of like changed the face of the way that I used to test, or I think DJs in general, but it's certainly changed the way that I approach testing records to see if people liked them. You used to be able to like post a record online, read people's feedback, or like you'd play it at a show, you'd watch the crowd reaction, and you'd as the record's playing, oh, I need to change that part, I need to change this, and now posting those videos on TikTok, it means the song can run away from you in a heartbeat, and it's almost like no longer belongs to you. So I think that was the big takeaway from Rhyme Dust, is like I posted online, be like, I wonder if people will be into it. They were very into it, and it was almost like we got to put it out ASAP. Unfortunately, the day that I posted it on TikTok was like Boxing Day, 26th of December or something. Record label was shut. Everyone had gone home for Christmas. Everyone was sitting on their phones on TikTok when they weren't like at family Christmas. Like it's just like everyone's sort of like drunk at Christmas time. Everyone's on the internet and no one's working. It was
so we're getting bullied. We're like, put it out, guys. Put it out. Like, okay, you're taking too long. Never mind. We don't want it anymore. Like Louis said that. Like, all right, well, forget it.
Crazy. It was like, I think in the space of like a week, people were like, the vibe's done. I'm like, what do you mean it's been a week? Like, long. In TikTok time, a week is like 5 years.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty stressful. And we had to like obviously clear the record with Q-Tip, and I think the original record, Breathe and Stop, is it Cool and the Gang? They're Cool and the Gang are like, they're credited as writers, even though we just use the acapella. Obviously you've got to make sure everyone gets paid their dues, and so the amount of people that we had to clear the record with, like lawyers,
like an absurd amount of writers on that song.
Absurd amount. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's a lot. More than 20, right? It's more than 20 writers.
Like before I'd even just grabbing that acapella.
Yeah.
Like before me and MK have even touched it, there's 20 people associated with it.
Wow. The record label is probably like, please do not do this.
We've probably got a bit of like, for lack of a better term, PTSD from this. Everyone's kind of like, before we post anything on TikTok, it's like, when are we doing it? Is everything weird? So it's been interesting. I think certainly my approach to social media has been different. Like, for example, with this Nelly record, it was like, is everything sorted? Do we have a release date? When are we putting it on TikTok? And it's a shame, but it's different. It's certainly less reactive. You have to sort of like plan for these things a bit more. But man, my cortisol levels and Mark's as well, it was just stressful.
Yeah, I think the best way to look at TikTok and socials is, I was explaining to someone recently, it's almost like how radio affects music, how it did like years ago when radio first became, when record labels realized they need radio to sell records. It's getting to the point where socials might be needed to sell records.
Mm.
And something else that I've noticed that artists have started doing a lot is posting like 6 or 7 different videos on Instagram and having their fans choose the drop and choose what the next release is.
Yeah, that too. I mean, that could seem like a little overkill, a little bit trying too hard to me, but this is my opinion. But yeah, I have seen that.
A lot.
It also takes away from, like, I think one thing that we have to acknowledge is like not all records are moment records where there's like, a 15-second, there are records that are growers. Brian, you described, you're not quite, the record not clicking for you until you listen to it a bunch of times. And I'm sitting on a bunch of records that aren't necessarily moment records. They're more like groove-based records, or they're songs, or stuff that you need a little bit more patience for, and the idea of promoting them online I've got to think about a different way to introduce it to my audience, basically. So I think it's horses for courses, but the idea of posting 5 records and asking people which one their favorite is, it's a shame because there might be 4 magic records there that don't necessarily fit that exciting drop moment mentality that get totally wasted. So
plus I think when you have fans, part of the reason you have fans is because they trust your judgment as a producer and songwriter. So you kind of want to tell them what the next banger is also.
Right.
You don't want to lose that. I feel like you don't want to lose that.
Yeah, and listen, I love what social media has done for artists and allowed to happen for their music, especially TikTok. Like you said, I mean, you could post a song or a sound and it just, goes viral before you even know it. But one thing I hate is that everybody thinks that if 15 seconds on TikTok blows up, that means the song is a good song that belongs on the radio. That's not the case at all. Right. Like 15 seconds could be a great sound, but that's it.
Yeah.
I've seen footage of concerts where artists will come out and everyone's like waiting for that 15-second moment. And then the moment happens and it's a bit, I don't know, it's pretty I don't know, frightening. It's a bit Black Mirror-esque.
I would agree, but I am definitely glad that Rhyme Dust blew up the way it did and got released. Congratulations on the #1 for you guys.
Thank you.
Ryan. Thank you.
On that note, actually, it's probably a good thing that the record's so repetitive because the 15 seconds that blew up on TikTok's just again and again and again. And it was a nice moment when sending the record to Mark, and obviously he's got so many years of experience, sending him the idea, and he's like, this has everything. So
yeah, I bet that's a great feeling. Now, you guys mentioned that there were different versions of it. Something that I'd love to find out is how many V's there are from when you start working on it to when it's finally put out and mastered. How many V's were there of Rhyme Dust? Do you know?
Maybe only 4, but the thing is we did V1 and maybe V1.5 before COVID. So once COVID happened, we just kind of like, okay, forget it. I guess this may happen or may not happen. And then 2 years later, Dom plays on TikTok and it was like, okay, guess we're back to this again.
We're back to this again.
We took a second just kind of not knowing what we're going to do with it.
Now, Dom, as an artist, is it tough just sitting back? You put your heart into a song that you hope is going to come out, but then, there's so much politics that goes into it. Is it tough to just kind of let it go?
I never really let records go unless I fall out of love with them sonically or don't necessarily like them. Like I'm sitting on so many songs that I haven't had the chance to play or road test but in my eyes, production is almost like fashion. Production changes, like the sounds that are sonically popular make sense. But the fundamental song and the fundamental core idea, like the vocal and like the chords and whatever else is in there, they stand the test of time. So
if it's a good song, you can still make it work.
Yeah, and like if there's a song that I write today that doesn't come out for 5 years, I'll just change the production on it, update the production, and then make it more relevant for the time that it makes sense to come out. But you can't get too attached to timelines in this industry, or you'll go crazy.
And I've actually been dealing with dance music for decades now, and one of the things that I love about dance music and that shows a good dance song is when you can strip all the production away from it and the vocals are just so amazing. Yeah. So I totally get that about the fundamentals of a song. If it's good, it's a good song. Congratulations on Rhyme Dust going #1. Of course, Dolla, you've got your brand new song with Nelly Furtado, Eat Your Man. MK, what's next for you?
I have a song coming out this month with Sonny Federa, a new one called Asking. And then I have my new song coming out in July called Take My Chance. And then I have a song coming out later on in the year with Ty Dolla $ign.
Can you send these to me already? Can you? I
got you.
Bring them over.
I got you, Dummy.
MK, Dolla, thank you so much for your time on America's Dance 30. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate it.